At that time, if you'd asked me what was going to happen next, I would have said probably nothing. Okay, you know, it's Washington D.C. You probably have to go hire a lobbying firm and get political dollars and basically bribe people and all kinds of crime. I have a very cynical view of what was going to happen next. But that really has not been the story. It's been an incredible process that, I don't know, has left me feeling actually surprisingly good about the political process in this country, despite what you see on television. Brad Feld, who's a VC based in Boulder, at the same time that we were doing this, was working with Congressman Jared Polis, who is his representative in the House, who's also a former entrepreneur himself. And they were working on reform of the EB-5 visa. I don't know if people know the EB-5 visa. It's a special visa category for investors who want to bring $1 million to the United States. And they were working on reform of that, and then he was starting to incorporate some ideas about entrepreneurship into that reform bill. And then at the same time, we were driving all this grassroots interest in Startup Visa. We decided to join forces. And what happened next was really weird. I started to get phone calls from congressional staffers. And they would say, hi, I saw that someone sent me this thing, Startup Visa, what is it? You know, can you brief me on this issue? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not a professional anything. I don't talk to politicians for a living, but I'll answer your questions if you have any. And they, you know, ask questions, and they would go back to talk to like somebody at the State Department who would tell them there's no immigration problem, and entrepreneurs have no problem. They could just come over on this visa or that visa. I learned this alphabet soup of visas. They were all supposed to solve the problem. We, of course, educate them about, you know, we'd show them stories of people who had tried that, didn't work, much harder than it seems on paper. And anyway, long story short, you know, we got to the point where 2 weeks ago, Senators Kerry and Lugar, a Republican, very senior Democrat, very senior Republican, co-sponsored the Startup Visa Act in 2010 and introduced it to the Senate. Congressman Polis has sponsored a similar bill in the House. And when we were in D.C. last week, we actually got to brief staffers on both houses of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, kind of across the spectrum, and say, hey, this is a real thing. You know, it really could be a job creation initiative that could pass this year. You know, what can we do to help you advance that, you know, that agenda from happening? So that was the purpose of our trip. It was much more successful than I ever dreamed possible. So the good news is, we have gotten a bill introduced in both houses. It has bipartisan support. We kind of checked all the boxes you can for a new legislative initiative. Most bills don't ever get even this far. The bad news is we've probably upgraded our chance of success to like 1 in 100, if we're lucky, right? Something like 1 in 100 bills that are ever introduced or passed into law. I think the number's probably even worse given that Congress has been quite dysfunctional this session. But that's up from like 1 in 1/1,000,000% of a chance of passing the bill. So that's the good news. Is everyone familiar with the proposal itself and what it does? No. Okay, so let me just give a very brief rundown on what the legislative change would be, and then I'm happy to chat and take questions that people have, and then we can talk about how could we, I'm assuming this is a friendly audience who thinks this is a good idea. Sense for the introductions. Then I think we could talk about what I'm really interested in, which is what can we do together to make this more likely to happen? Because, you know, like I said, a lot of energy expended talking about things. We have a real opportunity here to actually take some specific concrete action that I think would be a real win-win. So there's this thing called the EB-5 visa, which has an allocation of 10,000 visas a